Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. By the way, a lot of the issues that I was going to bring up to you, Attorney General, were already brought up. So I'll just kind of go back to another one, and that we've already spoken a little bit about. Currently which is the issue of marijuana and the enforcement of marijuana. Obviously, as we've already talked about, marijuana is illegal according to federal law. It's classified as a Schedule I controlled substance under the Controlled Substance Act. And this label implies that the drug has a high potential for abuse and no currently accepted medical use and treatment. Now, so again, according to federal law, it is not a minor benign substance. It is the same, according to federal law, as other Schedule I controlled substances. Now, Attorney General, you've talked about already as to why the Department of Justice is dealing with it the way that you're dealing. And I don't want to relitigate that, but I know that you're aware, and it's just the sad reality, that a lot of folks in the country believe that this administration selectively enforces the law. I don't want to relitigate that either, but there's a perception out there, and that's something that we have to deal with. So here's the question. Again, you've talked about how it is because of law enforcement that Schedule I substance is being treated different than other Schedule I substances. So to my point, would it not make sense that your department or somebody in the administration would bring to Congress a proposal to as opposed to just kind of selectively, and I'm not trying to say this in a negative sense, I'm just saying it is, your department is dealing that one differently than other Schedule I drugs. You've explained why, but would it not make sense to then change, or at least recommend that you would recommend to changes to either federal laws to the illegality of marijuana, or at least changes to the Scheduled I drugs, so that the American people would be certain that it is in fact, that you are actually enforcing the law, which obviously you say that you are, as opposed to selectively enforcing the law for whatever good reasons it may be. So wouldn't it make sense to come to Congress with some recommendations, some changes, just if nothing else, to give certainty and consistency, and the American people would understand that the law is applied with certainty and consistency?
I don't want to be argumentative, but I would just take issue, and I'll leave it at that, with the notion that we are selectively enforcing the law. Well, I'll leave that there. But with regard to the whole question of the scheduling of marijuana, I'd be more than glad to work with Congress if there is a desire to look at and re-examine how the drug is scheduled. As I said, there is a great deal of expertise that exists in Congress. It is something that ultimately Congress would have to change, and I think the administration would be glad to work with Congress if such a proposal were made.
But Mr. Holder, the question is, I mean, obviously Congress can do what it may, but Congress is not the one who has decided to allow or to not go after folks in a couple of states who now are, in essence, selling marijuana. That's not Congress's decision. That has been a unilateral decision by your department. So that's, again, my question. If that's the decision of your department, which is what is seen, things like that are seen, rightfully or wrongfully, because this is not the moment to obviously litigate that, but as selective enforcement. Congress hasn't made that decision. As far as Congress is concerned, marijuana is illegal in federal law. That has not changed. And your role is supposed to be, among the roles that it is, to enforce that federal law. And not only is it illegal, but it's again, it is a Scheduled I controlled substance. You have made, I guess it's prosecutorial discretion to allow, to not go after certain individuals, certain entities in Colorado and Washington for that violation of federal law. So again, it's not Congress, because we haven't changed anything. What has changed is the policy of this administration versus previous administrations as to how to enforce that federal law. So based on the changes that you have all made, shouldn't that come to Congress and say, look, we believe that the law is wrong, this is how we're enforcing it now, we believe this is why, and we think that the law should reflect the enforcement?
Well, I'd say that, if you look at the end of the day, if you look at the kinds of cases, marijuana cases that we will bring, or that we are bringing, and what was brought by the Justice Department previously, I'm not sure that you're going to see a huge difference. I mean, the priorities that we talk about, preventing the distribution of marijuana to minors, preventing cartels from being involved, preventing violence, use of firearms. A lot of the marijuana enforcement happens at the state and local level, with regard to possessory offenses. The kinds of cases that have been brought previously by the Justice Department, and I think that we would bring now, again, looking at these 8 enforcement priorities, I'm not sure that you're going to see a substantial difference. And to the extent that this scheduling issue is one that the Congress wants to engage in, I think the administration would be prepared to do that. But I think, as I said, the responsibility for this resides in Congress.
Mr. Chairman, I don't know if I have time for one last question. And again, this may not be specifically to your department, but let me just throw it out there anyways. Again, we know that some states now have legalized marijuana. Other states have legalized medical marijuana. The state of Florida has a ballot initiative coming up on the same issue, and who knows what will happen there. So is there a process, or will there be a process involved in the part that you deal with to analyze what, if any, effect these changes in the different states are going to have on, again, the part that you deal with? You don't deal with the health issues, I understand, but you do deal with potential issues of crime, of organized crime, or whatever it may be. Is there going to be an organized, established, is there going to be a bureau, a process, a commission? And if not, is that something that, that you all should be looking at to make sure that whatever impact, and we don't know what they're going to be, if any, whatever impact there may be, that, we don't all of a sudden 10 years down the road, we don't then say, oh, we didn't realize this was happening and it's too bad, but now it's too late. So is that something that formally is taking place within your agencies?
I think that's actually a very good question. And what I've told the governors of both Washington and Colorado is that we retain the ability to file federal lawsuits if we feel that the schemes that they have put in place, regulatory schemes that they have put in place, are contrary to or are not operating consistent with what they say in terms of not having an impact on public safety, if there are public health concerns that are generated by these new regulations. What I've told them is that we will not hesitate to come in and file lawsuits, and we will, within the department, come up with ways in which we can, I think, objectively monitor these situations so that we can make the determinations about whether or not further federal action would be appropriate beyond the promulgation of the 8 enforcement priorities that we have and the letters that the Deputy Attorney General sent to the field.
Lastly, for example, those, which I'm glad to hear, are those, is that process going to be something that you will be willing or be able to share with Congress so that we can also see the information that you're getting? I'm sure Congress will look at other ways too, but I think it would be helpful that we try to be on the same page so that we at least have the same information. In many cases, I think that would be helpful.
I mean, my guess would be that the way this will happen is that we will get research proposals from a variety of places. Our Office of Justice Programs would make determinations as to which ones to fund. These are then the research is done, the reports are prepared, and then they are publicly available. And obviously, we would share them with Congress. And on the basis of those determinations, on the basis of that research, make determinations about what further action, if any, by the Justice Department is warranted.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. Thank you.
I'm going to go to Mr. Culberson, but following up,